okay, I had mentioned this briefly in the last activity because they already showed up, but the last piece is where the pronouns go. So if you give an affirmative command, often when we conjugate, you have a choice. Like if you're using present progressive, you're saying, you know, I'm talking to him. I could either say le estoy hablando o estoy hablándole. Or when you're in present tense, I write him a letter. Every Monday I call him. Lo llamo cada lunes por teléfono. Okay, but when you use some things you have a choice, but in the command forms you do not. With the formal commands, the pronouns, the direct and indirect and reflexive pronouns have to go attached to affirmatives. So this is where they have to go. They're attached. Whoops, I don't want to do that. They're attached to affirmative commands, and then they go in front of negative commands. Okay, and it has to be done that way. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of practice with that. The teacher, and the other thing they want to tell you is that when you add the pronoun to the command, you're going to have to write in an accent, because you have shifted because you've made it an extra syllable longer, and you still want the same part of the word to be accented, so now you have to write it in so people know that. Okay, so, and I'll show you. And again, it's probably best if I do my little things. I think it helps you guys see. Okay, so for an AR verb, the endings would be E, ES, E, MOS, EIS, and EN. Those are our subjunctive endings. And for ER and IR verbs, the subjunctive endings are A, AS, A, AMOS, AIS, and AN. So again, when you're making the usted command, you use these guys, and when you're making the ustedes command, you use these guys. So this would be usted command, and this would be ustedes command. Okay, so if I go over here, Rafael, the teacher is giving your students many affirmative commands today. Fill in the blank with either the usted or ustedes commands. Usted or ustedes command of the verb given. Okay, so all of these are, it's affirmative in this particular activity. So it's not going to practice the negative, but that's okay because we did some negatives a minute ago. So we're dealing with affirmatives, which means that, so we're going to be looking right here. It's going to be attached. Okay. Okay, so to do attached, we have Rafael, hacerle una pregunta a Natalia. So we're saying, Rafael, ask Natalia a question. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to do hacer. I do it in the yo, which is hago. Okay, the le is the pronoun, which I'm going to put on the end of my verb as well. But first I do my hacer and make it hago. It's an ER verb, so I'm going to go over here, and it's one person that I'm telling to do something. So that means it's usted. It's only ustedes if you tell more than one person to do something. So here it is usted. I need the A. So I'm going to make that haga, and then I'm going to stick my pronoun. That le is my pronoun. I'm going to put it here. Okay. Now, because of that, when I didn't have my pronoun there, when this was gone, my verb ended in an A. Okay, it ended in a vowel, which meant that the syllable was falling on, because if a word ends in an N, S, or a vowel, the the word naturally gets accented on the second to last syllable. Okay, so in my original word, it's that first, it was ga. So it was the A. Here, I'll show you. Let me write it in and then I'll show you. I can't get it in there. I'll have to write it in. All right, here. Because when I originally had this word, it was ga, 2 syllables. But when I add a le, it's ga. Oh, let's see, maybe I should do that. Okay, I'll just write it because it gets so complicated. So ga, it was originally 2 syllables. If I had, and it naturally, okay, so it originally was 2 syllables, which meant that the accent naturally fell here, second to last syllable. Well, when I make it agale, it's going to become 3-syllable word. Agale. Okay. Well, according to the rule, if I don't write in an accent, I'm supposed to be making that G sound loud. The second to last syllable sound louder. But the original word had that HA that was accented, not the GA. So in order for people to still do that, because we want them to pronounce it that way, we're going to write in an accent so that people will continue to say agale instead of agale, because that's not what we want to say. All right, so I'm going to go back in and write in the accent here okay, so there should be an accent there, okay? So here, Carlos, necesito el libro que usted tiene. Again, we're telling Carlos, we want Carlos to bring it to me, please, okay? So the verb that I'm dealing with is traer. So I want to conjugate that into the yo form first, which is traigo. Okay, now traer is an ER verb, so I go over here to ER. I'm telling one person, just Carlos. I'm telling Carlos to bring it to me. So if it's an ER verb, so it's going to be an usted command, I'm going to make it traiga, and then I'm going to stick those pronouns back on the end because it's an affirmative command. Tráigamelo. Okay, so now again, if I had traiga, it was traiga. So my accent should fall on that A. Okay, so originally the accent would have fell on the A. So when I add the melo, I'm making it longer. I'm making it traigamelo. So in order to get people to still say it as tráigamelo instead of tráigamelo, I'm going to want to write an accent in over that A. Okay, so that I keep the same sound. So I'll go back in and put my accent mark here. Okay, and that's what's going to happen down here as well. Laura, blank, darme su tarea ahora, la quiero ver. So, Laura, give me your homework. Again, I'm telling one person what to do. I'm using dar. Dar is irregular. I think it's on page 303 in your text. So if I go back out here, 303, and I scroll down to dar, here's dar, and I want to use the usted, which is de. Okay. And this one already has an accent, so I'm just going to keep the same thing. So I'm going to put deme su tarea ahora, la quiero ver. Now we've got 2 people, so we'll do a couple with 2 people, and then I'm going to stop because it's the same thing over and over. So it's Alberto y Bernardo decirme la verdad. So I want these 2 people to tell me the truth. So I'm going to take my verb, which is decir, okay, and I'm going to conjugate it into the yo form, which would be digo. Okay, now that I'm telling multiple people to do something, I need an ustedes command. Because up here I'm telling Rafael to do something. Here I'm telling Carlos to do something. Here I'm telling Laura to do something. But here I'm telling Alberto y Bernardo. So I'm telling 2 people to do something. So then this is an IR verb. I go to the IR endings. I'm going to add an AN. And then I'm going to put my may on here. And again, for the accent piece, it was diga, and naturally the accent was falling on the D, the second to last syllable. But when I add on the may part, oops, actually let me go back, digan. And so when I add on the may part, it's digan me. I want it to still be digan me instead of digan me. So in order to do that, I need to write in an accent over that I so that I keep that second, that what originally was the second to last syllable, so people know I still want that to be accented, to keep the same stress as you had in the original word. So it should go right there. Digan me. Okay, let's do Paula y Pamela sentarse ahora mismo. So sit down right now, okay? Sentar is an E to IE verb, so when I conjugate it, what I'm going to be doing, this is my verb, sentar, and it's an E to IE verb, so when I conjugate it, I'm going to conjugate it like this. Siento, okay? But it's an AR verb, and it's for 2 people, because I'm telling Paula y Pamela to do this, so I'm going to put an EN on the end of there. So I'm going to do sienten, and then I'm going to add se. And remember that your reflexive pronoun matches the subject of the sentence, because you're telling them to do this themselves. You're saying, Paula y Pamela, sit yourselves down, so it needs to match up. And again, the verb was originally sienten. Okay, so then when I add the se, it's sienten se. So it should have been over the E, sienten. So I want to keep it over the E, so I write it in. Oops. So that I keep the same stress that there was originally in the word in its command form.